may or may not still be present, given that they are in the Western Conference. I don't see Greg Popovich, all things being equal, endowing this Lakers team with that kind of asset. I mean, one thing I do want to ask, I think we make too much of this, who's good in the room. Michael Jordan owns the Charlotte Hornets. Michael freaking Jordan. Michael Jordan, who essentially designed the image and the icon of the modern NBA athlete, the modern athlete, period. Mm-hmm. Is anybody on his doorstep? I just think that this in-the-room thing is so overrated.
It's a closer, though. I mean, I don't think you're going to a bad team because even if Michael's in the room, but, I mean, if you...
Well, again, if Michael comes in the room just like Magic Johnson comes into a room, you're going to get attention. Right. I mean, obviously, the player's going to look and be like, whoa, this is Michael Jordan or this is Magic Johnson. You know, you're going to be overwhelmed for Danny Ainge for a certain amount of time. So I think that does have a wow factor when it comes to trying to convince a player to come to Los Angeles or to come to Charlotte, wherever the case may be. But at the end of the day, like you said, the player is going to try to make the best decision for him. I think Pop does not want to make the Lakers a better basketball team. And I think Boston would love to help him not do that as well. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this all kind of plays out. But at the end of the day, you're taking a chance with Kawhi because if you do trade him, that team that he gets, he can be gone after a year.
Right, yeah. And you're talking about potentially giving up a lot of assets. And also, as I like to tell everyone, don't ever trade with Danny Ainge because he is so good at it.
Deal, yes.
Now, maybe R.C. Buford and Pop are like the one other sort of category of people I would say are savvy enough to sort of make sure it's an even deal. But Boston fans are the first ones to tell you they've got a magician in their corner. Can you just tell me what you've been getting from texts? You said you've been texting with
front offices. Really interesting. Nobody feels the Spurs are over a barrel. No one feels like, oh, well, Kawhi's named his destination. Their hand is forced. They can't bring him back. He's under contract for another year, but that would be misery. I mean, I think there's a sense that they can be patient. They can hold out. There will be other teams that are emboldened as players drop off the free agent market. Again, I think there's also a sense this isn't going to happen in the next week or so. But again, this is just a poll. I mean, I do want to say that celebrities help in the room, but I think it's the quality of the vision. Yeah. I mean, the reason Danny Ainge is Danny Ainge is he articulates and delineates a series of principles about what happens when you come to the Boston Celtics. I mean, yeah, he was a former pro and he's won championships, but I do think the quality of the vision, I think, yes, Magic, it's much greater than zero. I mean, the presence of the person in the room is something, but I just think it's the quality of the vision.
I think the timing of this is so fascinating, too, because, again, if this trade, whatever it is, happens before free agency and maybe in concert in back rooms, not that that ever happens in the NBA. No one talks to each other. There's no tampering. No one ever has any idea of any future plans. But just for saying, if this trade happens before the free agency market sort of pops at the beginning of July, that is a very different question of dominoes and where they're falling and players who may have and are allowed to talk to each other versus the Spurs, who, as you said, have a say in this. Kawhi doesn't get to go anywhere until they say he does.
Right.
So it might be that LeBron James or Chris Paul or Paul George are forced to make these decisions without knowing where Kawhi Leonard is. And by the way, it's not just, oh, gee, would we come to a team that he plays on? If Kawhi might be going to Boston and you're LeBron and you're deciding, do I want to go to the West or do I want to stay in the East? Which side is more competitive has changed even with that equation. So there's so many things going on here.
Greg Popovich is not going to convenience 29 other teams. That's the thing. And why should he?
Right. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. And also, by the way, Greg Popovich said to LaMarcus Aldridge last summer, you might want to trade, you're not getting a trade. Now, this is obviously a different scenario. Kawhi only having that year left on his deal sort of changes a lot of the equation here. And also the value of Kawhi Leonard and what he could bring back. One thing Pop told LaMarcus is like, hey, you can get me a great player, or Kevin Durant, he said to him, or anyone else, like a great exchange. He goes, I'll pack your bags, I'll drive you to the airport. I have the feeling the Spurs will get some pretty good offers for Kawhi Leonard, not Kevin Durant, but maybe Greg will be packing bags and driving to airports. Who knows? We'll see.